The gentleman yields. The chair now recognizes the former chairman of this committee and the current chairman of Foreign Affairs, Mr. Mike McCaul from Texas.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And just want to say in response, what about the 100,000 Americans who have died due to fentanyl poisoning? More than Vietnam over 20 years in just 1 year. You know, Mr. Secretary, you and I are federal prosecutors on border states. We've known each other for a long time. When you took office, we were securing the border. You said that you have operational control. But last month, your Border Patrol chief, Mr. Ortiz, testified before this committee that DHS does not have operational control of the border, and I agree with him. In my 20 years in Congress as a former chair of this committee and as a federal prosecutor tasked with securing the border in Texas, I've never seen this border more out of control. And I believe it's because on day one, you rescinded the migrant protection protocols, otherwise known Remain in Mexico. And at that time, 2 years ago, you said it was necessary to terminate this program that was working because, quote, it was unjustifiable human cost associated with it. But I ask you, is it justifiable that migrant encounters have risen to 5 million people since you took office? Is it justifiable that more than 100,000 Americans have died from fentanyl flowing across the border? Is it justifiable that 98 suspected terrorists attempted to enter the homeland last year alone? And who knows how many have made it in. When I was chairman, I wanted that stat every week I got briefed. Is it justifiable that at least 12,000 criminals attempted to enter the homeland last year? 1,000 with assault-related charges and 62 with homicide-related charges. Is it justifiable to human costs at least 853 migrants died trying to make the dangerous journey across the border last year, the most on record in the history of this country? I don't always quote CNN, but they had a phenomenal documentary, The Journey, the dangerous journey from South America to the United States. Is it justifiable that in my state, first responders found stacks of bodies, that's a quote, abandoned by human smugglers in a trailer who suffocated to death? Are these human costs justifiable because they align with your political agenda? Because I don't think any of these things, none of this is justifiable. This is the biggest human trafficking crisis of my lifetime, and you, sir, are complicit with it. I've been down there so many times, but now it's completely out of control. What are we going to do with 5 million people that have no legal status in this country? How do you deal with this problem? They're going to live in the shadows. Where are they going to go? The women, the girls are going to be sex trafficked, and the young men are going to go to MS-13. That's going to be their family. And you know it, and I know you know it, because you know better. You're a smart man. You were a U.S. attorney like me. That's why I'm supporting our bill that we're going to mark up to try to get control of this thing once and for all. And as chairman of the House Foreign Affairs Committee, I'm going to compel this administration to renegotiate Remain in Mexico. You know, in the final analysis, sir, your job is a solemn one. It's probably one of the most important cabinet jobs because your job is to protect the American people from threats. Your job is to secure borders, air, land, and sea. And in my judgment, and it's hard for me to say this, I've known you for quite some time, but you have failed in your job. And I think you know this. And I agree with our Border Patrol agents. This is one of the most, to me, most profound things that I saw in your tenure when you went down to the border and the Border Patrol agents turned their backs on you because, quote, you have turned your back on them. I think that speaks volumes about your tenure in office. For God's sakes, work with us to get this done. It is out of control, and it's at great human cost, and none of it's justifiable. And one rescission, one stroke of the pen, rescinding migrant protection protocol, remain in Mexico, was a direct cause and effect. And your agents on the border tell me this. What caused this crisis? I ask. It's because the president rescinded remain in Mexico because they couldn't get in the United States before that, and now they get in, and it's catch and release all over again, and now we have this crisis at the border. So I know my time is running out, but I would like to entertain any response you have.
Congressman, you invited me to work with you and work with this committee to address the challenges at the border, and I welcome that invitation, and I accept it. Our immigration system has been broken for decades, and it is in dire need of legislative reform. You ask about what is justifiable and what is not. Evidence of a broken immigration system is compelling for years and years. Do you know that in the years 2006, 2007, 2008, there were more than 1 million gotaways per year? The challenge of fentanyl, you and I have both prosecuted narcotics trafficking cases. I have prosecuted cocaine trafficking, methamphetamine trafficking, black tar heroin trafficking. We've seen nothing.
I know my time has expired, but we're going to sanction China for the precursors coming in, and my bill will sanction Mexican officials for being complicit with this drug trafficking that's killing 100,000 Americans, for God's sakes. And you, sir, I believe are complicit with this by your inaction at the border.
Oh, we are taking more action than
The gentleman's
ever
time
before.
has expired.